Join us now, Rich Greenfield. We'll talk about the political angle, but also just we want to talk the media angle. Co-founder at LightShed Partners. Does it make sense when the leader of the guy in the lead, Sanders, and a lot of compatriots are talking about getting big money out of politics, and the guy that might end up as the nominee is doing it through spending hundreds of millions of dollars? Is that going to work for the core Democrat constituency?
Well, look, I think the reality is Bloomberg's doing this to introduce himself to the American public. And I think, we live in New York. He was mayor. I think we obviously know him. I think this is a lot about educating, especially the larger electorate, the voters.
Forget about Citizens United. That really wasn't a big deal. That wasn't the...
I think this is about educating older voters all across the country of who he is.
These 17 people have been, going to small towns for the last 2.5 years, pressing the flesh, and he can come in and spend $300 million and become the nominee. You think that's...
I guess we're going to find out, huh?
What's it doing for the media landscape?
I mean, look, the media landscape, we go through these periods of time where everyone gets really excited about something kind of out of the ordinary and kind of like a seismic change. There's no fundamental... All of a sudden, TV advertising is not getting healthier. More people are not watching TV. If anything, double-digit declines in watching live TV. This is sort of a one-time shock to the system that helps, and it actually is certainly huge numbers are going to be very helpful. But remember, the election ends in November, and then we're back to the business of normal, which is dramatic declines in live TV viewership. All the best shows are moving to streaming. I mean, if you watched the Oscars last night, there was a lot of, you saw a lot of Disney Plus ads, you saw a lot of Hulu ads. You see where all of the, all the big content, even FX shows are now moving over to Hulu and won't even air on linear television anymore. And so the reality is this is sort of, I think in many ways, this is like the last great election TV spend. I don't know if you're ever going to see what happens here again. In 4 years, the landscape's going to look a lot different. I mean, we've already dropped from 100 million people with cable television down to 80. In 4 more years, you could be looking at something in the 60s. It's going to be a very different world for advertising on TV in 4 years.
I would agree with that in part, but if you look at 2016, there was the expectation, a lot of people then were saying this could be the last great ad buy. Look, we all know that structurally we're shifting to digital, but you've got Citizens United, in addition to that, this huge partisanship that we have in the country. And as much as digital is great and can be, in fact, more targeted, the dollar numbers just can't compare with what's going into broadcast. And no one is more data-centric than Bloomberg, and yet it's almost 10-1 what he's putting in television versus digital.
Sure, but I would argue that someone like Trump is also very data-intensive, and I think part of it is the introduction phase. I think there is sort of this, he is in a different position. If he had started earlier, maybe he wouldn't be spending as much on TV the way he is here. I think this is sort of, it feels a little bit like playing catch-up and using the blast of TV to have that effect. Look, it's always going to be hard to make an emotional attachment to somebody on digital. Getting someone to watch a 30-second spot on digital, usually it's like 5 seconds on Facebook, and if you miss it, it's gone. So TV is still that unique. And, look, your parent company, Comcast, is launching Peacock to try to bring an ad-supported product that actually has a place for advertisers, because most of the on-demand world has no ads. I mean, that's the real challenge that candidates and actually any brand CMO in this country faces is, what does the future look like when there's so few places for ads? And so I think there'll always be a place for political ads on TV. I just question, the amount of spending probably has to shift more and more to digital, just as the number of eyeballs you can reach keeps dropping.
And also remember, is it having an unintentional negative effect, though, on the other players in the party, where it's raising ad spending for them, and then to get the same amount of time on a network, right, they have to pay that much more just because he's spending so much on it?
It has to, right? I mean, just the simple infusion of the amount of money that he's spending has to be raising the ante for every single other player.
Well, and then if the intention is more negative advertising, right, more anti-Trump advertising and less pro-Bloomberg advertising, then is it actually hurting the Democratic Party?
I think that's impossible to know right now. I guess it depends on who ends up actually being I guess your question basically presupposes he's not going to end up being the nominee. I'm not going to try to debate. I don't know who's going to ultimately be the nominee.
But it is a parallel campaign. He's got one campaign that is pro-Bloomberg, the other is anti-Trump. And remember, in 2016, Trump barely spent, and Hillary didn't spend because she thought she had it in the bag. So this is a whole different level of spending that we've just never seen before. It's not just Bloomberg. It's the fact that Trump's got $100 million going into this, and he didn't spend much in 2016.
And look, I think the digital war only gets bigger and bigger as we go through the course of the next few months. I'd expect the digital warfare to get much more intense than what we're seeing right now. I mean, this is just the beginning.